In the year 300 BCE, nestled in the verdant valleys of Eldoria, a land kissed by golden sunrises and shadowed by towering mountains, a small village named Solara thrived. Its people were farmers, weavers, and storytellers, bound by a shared belief in the eternal flame, a mystical light said to reside in the heart of the Eldorian mountains. Legend promised that the flame granted wisdom and courage to those who proved their hearts worthy. But for generations, no one had dared the perilous journey to find it, and Solara had fallen into a quiet despair, its people burdened by drought and dwindling hope. Among them lived Kale, a young man of 22 with eyes like polished amber and a heart restless for purpose. Orphaned as a child, Kale was raised by his grandmother, Alara, a wise weaver whose tales of the eternal flame filled his dreams. Unlike the other villagers, who had grown cynical, Kale believed the flame was more than myth. He saw it as a beacon for a better future, not just for himself, but for all of Solara. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves burned red and gold, Solara's elders gathered to discuss the worsening drought. The river that fed their crops had dwindled to a trickle, and the harvest was barely enough to sustain the village through winter. Kale, though young, stood at the edge of the meeting, his voice trembling but resolute. "We cannot wait for rain that may never come," he said, his words cutting through the murmurs. "The eternal flame is real. It's said to hold the power to renew the land. Let me seek it." The elders scoffed. "A boy's fantasy," grumbled Torin, the grizzled blacksmith. "The mountains are treacherous, cliffs, wolves, and storms await. No one has returned from such a journey." Alara, her silver hair glowing in the firelight, placed a hand on Kale's shoulder. "The flame requires more than courage, my child. It demands a heart that seeks not for itself, but for others. Are you ready for such a burden?" Kale met her gaze, his chest swelling with determination. "I am, grandmother. For Solara, I'll face anything." That night, Alara wove Kale a cloak of deep indigo, threading it with symbols of hope and resilience. She pressed a small, carved stone into his hand, a relic passed down from her ancestors. "This will remind you who you are when the path grows dark," she whispered. At dawn, Kale set out, his pack filled with bread, dried fruit, and a waterskin. The villagers watched, some with pity, others with faint hope. The path to the Eldorian mountains was a winding trail through dense forests and rocky gorges. As Kale ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and the trees whispered warnings in the wind. On the third day, Kale encountered Mira, a wanderer with a sharp wit and a bow slung across her back. Her dark curls framed a face weathered by travel, and her green eyes sparkled with curiosity. "You're the boy chasing the flame, aren't you?" she asked. Leaning against a tree, Kale nodded, wary. "And you are?" "Mira, hunter and skeptic," she replied with a grin. "I've roamed these lands for years. The flame's a tale to comfort children. But I'll join you, for the adventure, not the myth." Kale hesitated. He preferred to travel alone. But Mira's skill with a bow and her knowledge of the wild were undeniable. "Fine," he said, "but keep up." Their unlikely partnership began with tension. Mira teased Kale's idealism, while he bristled at her cynicism. Yet, as they faced challenges, a rickety rope bridge over a chasm, a sudden storm that soaked them to the bone, they began to rely on each other. Mira's quick thinking saved Kale from a falling boulder, and Kale's quiet resolve kept Mira grounded when fear crept in. After a week, they reached the base of the Eldorian mountains. The peaks loomed like silent giants, their slopes shrouded in mist. A narrow path spiraled upward, flanked by jagged cliffs. As they climbed, the air thinned, and doubt gnawed at Kale's heart. What if the flame was just a story? What if he failed Solara? On the second night in the mountains, they camped in a cave. A low growl echoed outside, and Mira grabbed her bow. A massive wolf, its fur silver in the moonlight, stalked toward them. Kale's heart raced, but he remembered Alara's words, "A heart that seeks for others." Instead of reaching for his dagger, he held out a piece of dried meat, his hand trembling. The wolf paused, its eyes locked on Kale's. Slowly, it took the meat and retreated into the dark. Mira lowered her bow, stunned. "You're either mad or a genius," she said. Kale smiled faintly. "Sometimes, Courage means choosing peace over battle. The next day, they faced a greater trial, a chasm spanned by a crumbling stone bridge. Mira, usually fearless, froze. "I can't," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I lost my brother to a fall like this." Kale took her hand, his voice steady. "You've carried me this far." Mira, we'll cross together. Step by step, they navigated the bridge, their trust in each other stronger than the stone beneath their feet. After days of climbing, they reached a cavern glowing with an ethereal light. At its center burned the eternal flame. Not a fire but a radiant orb pulsing with warmth and energy. Its light seemed to pierce Kale's soul, revealing his fears, hopes, and the weight of his mission. A voice, ancient and resonant, filled the cavern. "Why do you seek the flame?" Kale stepped forward, his voice clear. "For Solara, for my people, they suffer, and I wish to bring them hope and renewal." The voice pressed deeper. "And what of your own desires?" Kale clutched Alara's stone, its edges worn smooth. "My desire is their happiness. If the flame can heal the land, let it be so." Mira, standing beside him, spoke up. "I came for adventure, but I've seen his heart. He's true. If the flame is real, it belongs with him." The orb flared brighter, and the voice softened. "The flame is not a prize to take, but a truth to carry. It lives in acts of courage, trust, and sacrifice. Return to your people, and the land will heal." The light enveloped them, warm and invigorating. When it faded, the orb was gone, but Kale felt its energy within him, a spark of unshakable resolve. Kale and Mira descended the mountain, their steps lighter despite their exhaustion. When they reached Solara, the villagers gasped. The river, once a trickle, now flowed strong and clear. The fields bloomed with new life, as if the land itself had sensed their return. Kale shared the flame's truth, that courage, trust, and selflessness were the true sources of renewal. The villagers, inspired, began to rebuild, not just their fields, but their sense of community. Mira chose to stay, her cynicism replaced by a quiet belief in something greater. Kale, now a leader, wove Alara's stories into his own, ensuring the flame's lessons would endure. Timeless lessons. The story of Kale and the eternal flame became a legend in Solara. Passed down through generations, its lessons, rooted in ancient wisdom, resonate today. Courage over fear. Kale faced wolves, storms, and doubt, choosing action over paralysis. True courage isn't the absence of fear, but the will to move forward despite it. Trust in others. Kale and Mira's partnership showed that strength grows through collaboration. Trust, even when hard-earned, can bridge divides. Selflessness is power. The flame revealed that true power lies in serving others, not seeking personal gain. A heart turned outward can change the world. Hope as a spark. Even in Solara's darkest days, Kale's belief in the flame kept him going. Hope, nurtured by action, can transform despair into possibility. As the sun sets over modern America, where challenges like division and uncertainty echo Solara's struggles, Kale's journey reminds us that the light we seek often lies within, ignited by courage, trust, and a commitment to others.